Hi everyone. In this video I will be going over what to include in your integration project. So your integration project PowerPoint presentation must be submitted no later than June 3rd by midnight. No late presentations will be accepted. So the purposes of this integration project is for you to learn one aspect of biology and its impact on society in depth. So, you were able to choose a topic, so learning that particular topic and its impact on society in depth. You also will practice the skills needed to acquire and process information about a topic that may be controversial through researching the topic. You'll recognize and explore the interplay between science and society, so using information via research and presenting it and seeing how it's presented to society. Recognize the biological basis of environmental issues. Okay, so these topics are all biology based. And then recognize the relationship of population growth to environmental issues. And then, of course, exercise your critical thinking skills. So as far as the format for this integration project, you will be creating a PowerPoint presentation. So it'll be in that format. You will have chosen a topic from the approved list. So if we go into our Moodle page, if we go scroll way up into Topic 2 in our integration project forum, this is where we chose our topic. Okay, so if you forget what topic you chose, you can go back and see which topic you chose. Okay, if you did not choose a topic, you can still do so by June 3rd. Okay, and again, only one person can choose one topic. So if you notice that a topic is at capacity, like this one, you cannot choose this topic because somebody has already chosen it in this term. Okay. So no two individuals may select the same topic. So if you chose your topic already and selected it, then that means no other student in our class can write about the same topic. We will include all required parts in our presentation. So along with the topic choice, you will want to download the integration project handout. So this integration project handout has everything that you need to include. So here is basically everything that your presentation to include. So make sure that you have this out when you're creating your PowerPoint presentation. And I'll go through specifically everything there. And then when you are creating your PowerPoint presentation, just make sure that your presentation should be organized in a logical manner. So I suggest that you set it up the same way that I set up this PowerPoint presentation. So I'm just going in order of the required elements of the presentation. So you should have the same order as me. And I also recommend that you include, you set it up one part per slide. Okay, so if we go back to our handout, where's my handout? Let me go back to our handout. You can see that our presentation include these basically 8 elements. Perhaps have a slide for each one of these. So basically you'll have a title slide and then maybe 8 slides after that. So one covering each one of these. You might need more slides if you have additional information that maybe cannot be covered on one slide. Okay, so maybe 9 slides total, or more than 9 slides total, including your title slide. Okay, and then when you are creating your PowerPoint presentation, make sure that you are writing it out in a way that is understandable to a Bio 101 or 103 student. So, don't make this PowerPoint project for me, make it for your fellow students, because they're going to be the ones that are reading it. So if there is, some complex terminology that you're using, you need to make sure that a typical student in this course will understand it. So you might need to define that complex terminology. So it's important that you're using, layman's terms when you're explaining things. And then once you've submitted your PowerPoint presentation, your peers will read it and watch, go through the slides and everything, and then they're actually going to ask questions about your presentation, and then you'll respond to those questions. So you'll want to make your presentation organized, informative, and easy to understand, but also visually appealing. So it should be something that is interesting for your fellow classmates to watch and learn. So we're going to go through the different required elements of your PowerPoint presentation. So the first element is, what is the biological basis of your environmental issue and its impact on the biosphere? So you'll need to come back to figuring out what's the biology behind your issue. So there's different topics out there, and so some of these topics that are available, they're more obviously have a biological basis than others. So some of you, like for example, e-waste, electronic waste, that might be a little bit more difficult to think of the biological basis, but when you dig deep into it, you can kind of see, yes, there's a biological basis, because if you have electronic waste, there are some certain metals in the e-waste that can leach into the environment. And then, as we talked about in our earlier topics, certain metals and like things like mercury and things like that toxins can biomagnify throughout our food chain and become even more toxic as it goes up the food chain. So there is a biological basis for each one of these topics. So do make sure that you are thinking about what is the biological background of your particular environmental issue, and describe it. And then what is the impact of your environmental issue on the biosphere itself, the entire Earth? Okay, so that should again take up a slide or two, and you might want to enhance the slide with some sort of visual. The next required element is, how does your issue impact society? So, think about the population in general. So how does your particular environmental issue impact people? So you might want to think of it as from a political standpoint, could it potentially cause wars, fighting over, land or water rights or things like that. You can examine, the economic costs to this. Does it cost people's lives? Does it cost people's, does it make the livelihoods of people, like as far as the way that they can acquire goods and services, and does it affect people in various ways? So think about the impact it has on society, including any direct economic costs. So this is not the biological basis. This is more of the society, social impacts of your environmental issue. And then the third requirement is, you're going to describe any controversy surrounding the issue. Now, not all of these are necessarily controversial, okay? So, for again, like e-waste, electronic waste, is it dangerous? Well, I mean, it's not necessarily controversial because it's, trash. Nobody wants trash. But so if yours isn't necessarily controversial, you can go with the science associated with the issue. Okay, so there's, two ways to answer this. So if yours is controversial, then you're going to go with that. If yours is not necessarily controversial, then you're going to go with the science associated with the issue. So either way, you're going to present the evidence to support the, what is going on with that particular issue. So describe any controversy surrounding the issue and or the science associated with the issue. And then, make sure that you're presenting, if it's controversial, you're presenting both sides of the argument. Don't be biased and only presenting one side, ignoring the other side. Okay. And then for the fourth requirement, take a position and defend your stand using scientific evidence to support your argument. So think about, now that you've gathered some information about your particular environmental issue, what is your stand? What can we do about it if it's not necessarily controversial? Do you think people, are governments doing enough to take a stand? Is there something that, we can do? If it is controversial, what is your position? Are you for or against it? And then make sure that you're backing up your position with scientific evidence, okay? So this is the main thing that will strengthen your argument, is providing scientific evidence, okay? So a lot of times you hear arguments going back and forth on, social media or something, and they're not scientifically based. So when I see those arguments, they're mute to me. I, dismiss them right away. Strong arguments are scientifically backed up arguments, okay? So if you have proof, scientific proof, then it's a strong argument, okay? So those are the ones that are strong. So do make sure that you're taking a position and defend it using scientific evidence. And then you're going to address any misconceptions or misunderstandings found in the media that surround your issues. So we all know that social media, there are lots of mistakes being made, or misconceptions, or alternative facts, I could say, that are being shared on social media about certain environmental issues and so forth. So think about those misconceptions or misunderstandings and address those and explain, what is wrong with that, with the reasoning behind those, and maybe explain the correct reasoning, and provide evidence to support the correct reasoning. Okay, so why is it a misconception, misunderstanding, and then what's the counter argument, and what's the scientific basis for that. So what's the correct and then related to topics that we studied in class. So, for example, if you're, learning about something that is, highly controversial, and you see on social media that people are taking a stand that doesn't necessarily is not backed up based on what you've learned in class. Okay, so this is where you can use what you learned in science, and you can apply it to this scenario here. Okay, so for example, like the GMOs, we recently learned about what is a GMO food, and then you see in social media there is basically a huge stigma about GMO foods, and so there's quite a big misunderstanding about it. So I don't know if you still are for or against it, but there is this huge misconception about it, that maybe if people are more educated about it, there wouldn't be this huge misconception. So relate it to the topics studied in class. And then you're going to present any relationship between your issue and human population growth, including predictions of future impact. So again, these are all environmental issues. So if they are, continuing into the future, how is that going to impact future generations? How is this going to impact our population growth? How is it going to impact, our standard of living 100 years from now? So think about how, how your children and grandchildren, great grandchildren, are going to, what their lives are going to be like if this environmental impact or issue continues. So present any relationship between your issue and human population growth, and think about those predictions of future impact. Okay. So this particular PowerPoint presentation, again, I've been kind of showing, each required element as a separate slide. So I highly suggest you do the same. If you need more than one slide to state the particular required element, that is perfectly fine. Make sure that you're not just bombarding your fellow students with a bunch of written text in 8-point font, just covering the slide, where your fellow students just have to sit there and read basically an essay per slide. Okay, that is not going to be very engaging for your fellow students. They're not going to want to read your presentation. It's going to be boring. So you'll want to engage your audience. Include images, some sort of figure, graph, data that support your presentations. So, make it engaging. You'll want to maybe, instead of writing everything that's possible down, that you can possibly, paraphrase things. You don't need to write every single thing down. So you're just trying to get the major points across, and that way, you can move on. Similar to the PowerPoint slides we've kind of done in the past throughout the term, where you're just asked to do one slide and then you kind of present everything. And it's not like you're writing an essay per slide, right? So you're just kind of presenting, small snippets of information, and usually include some sort of image or something that engages your fellow classmates. So you're doing this throughout the entire presentation. Okay. So, engage your audience. If you're not going to want to watch or look at your own presentation, nobody else is going to want to look at it either. If you do choose to use a video clip, just make sure that it's directly relevant to the topic and no longer than 1 minute. So we don't want to just, waste everybody's time with like an hour-long video clip, okay? The last slide of your presentation will be your bibliography. So this is basically all of your references used throughout your presentation. So your bibliography will need to be in APA format, just like what you use for your lab reports, okay? Throughout your presentation, make sure that your information is current and correct. So I shouldn't see anything on your environmental issue from like 1970, okay? So it should be, within the last 5-10 years. So it should be current. Do not copy information from your reference. So we're not plagiarizing here. I like to, when I'm doing any sort of research, I usually have my reference in front of me, and then I just jot down notes on a piece of paper, and then that's it. Like, I don't copy anything down. I just kind of summarize what I read from the reference, and I summarize it in my own words as notes, and then I kind of write down what the reference was in APA format for later use. And I use that as I put together whatever research I'm doing. So I suggest you do the same. So just, look through your reference, jot down some notes that, you might want to use for later. Write down the reference, and then that way, if you're going to use that information later, it's already in your own words, okay? So you're not plagiarizing. We don't want to use Wikipedia or other like Ask or encyclopedia type websites. Mainly because like Wikipedia, it's something that anybody can edit, so we don't necessarily know if it's correct at the moment. So somebody could have gone in the night before and screwed up and tried to, especially if it's a controversial subject. So we don't want to use any of those types. Try not to use anything that's like a blog or something like that as well, because those types of sources are not peer reviewed, and so most likely it's just somebody's own thoughts and not really science backed or anything like that. Throughout your PowerPoint presentation, you'll want to cite your sources, just like throughout your lab reports you are citing your sources. Okay, so that's just using the author, year format. All right. So once you have your presentation made, then you're going to go ahead and go into Moodle and go down into our forum post. Okay, so this is where you're going to add the discussion topic. Before you actually add it though, you'll want to grade your discussion topic against the rubric. So this is the exact rubric I will be using to grade your presentation. So notice that it's broken down by point, and you can see that you'll be graded based on organization, the graphics that you're using, subject knowledge, organization, graphics, environmental issue, so all of that, and then the information of sources, so making sure that you're using appropriate sites and so forth. You're also going to be, so that's just on the PowerPoint, okay? So the organization, graphics, environmental issue, and sources. So that makes up, 10, 15, 18 points of the 30 points. So you'll submit that as your discussion topic, okay? So that is due no later than June 3rd, okay? You have to submit it by June 3rd, midnight, no exceptions. Anything later than that will not be accepted for credit. The reason being is that your peers are going to be looking at your presentation. So if you submit it late, they're not going to have time to look at it, okay? So once all of the presentations have been submitted, then you and your classmates are going to choose a minimum of 6 presentations to look through. So you're going to look through 6 of your peers' presentations, read through them, and you're going to ask 2 to 3 questions of each of the presenters. So this will be based on of their presentation. So they need to be questions about the presentation, questions that maybe if there's something that was that you may be confused about, or maybe something that just comes up while you're reading through the presentation that maybe you're curious about and you want to know more about, something like that. So that's the type of questions that you'll be asking the presenter. So once you have asked a minimum of 6 presentations, 2 to 3 questions each, those questions must be asked by Thursday midnight, okay? So you'll need to ask the presenters of 6 presentations by Thursday midnight. Then the presenters go back, read those questions, and respond to those questions, okay? You need to respond to those questions, answering those questions by no later than Sunday midnight, okay? So that's where the other points come in. So if you look at the rubric again, you have participation points, so 6 points. So 1 point per presentation that you ask. So that's where you're going to ask questions for each presentation, 6 presentations total. And then, so that's due by Thursday. And then you are going to go back into your own presentation and read all of the questions that your fellow peers have asked of you, and you're going to answer those questions. Okay, so based on your own knowledge, and you might have to do additional research as well. Okay, so those questions need to be answered no later than the following Sunday. Okay, so that adds up to 30 points total for this integration project. All right. So if you have any questions as you're putting together your integration project, feel free to email me, stop by my office hours, or you can post your question on our Ask and Share forum posts. Otherwise, good luck.